Hi, I'm Justin North and welcome to chefmasterclasses.com. Today I'm going to make an amazing chocolate tart using Farm Pride free-range eggs. To begin, we're going to cream some unsalted butter in our mixer. Now the important thing is that you use room temperature butter that's just been slightly softened. So just increase the speed a little bit to start blending the icing sugar and the butter together so it's really well mixed. 1 egg yolk. So just separate the white from the yolk. Next yolk goes in. Let that blend for about half a minute until it's well combined. Okay, so to our creamed butter and egg and sugar, we're going to add the sifted flour and a little bit of cocoa powder. Now the cocoa powder will just give us beautiful, rich, lovely, toasty chocolate flavour to it. So that's really well combined now, so we're going to remove that from the machine and just bring it together on our workbench. So you can see this is just coming together now. It's still fairly sticky, and that's just because of the temperature of the butter and the nice creaminess of the egg. You don't need to work it too much, it's just a matter of bringing it together. And if it is, for whatever reason, a little bit too sticky, then you can just add a light dusting of flour. Now the important thing, because we've sort of worked all that gluten in the flour, it's important just to rest that for a little while. I like to rest it for up to about an hour. It's fine. So you can just wrap this in a little parcel of cling film, place it in the refrigerator, and then just let it rest there, just to let it relax. Okay, so we're just going to roll out the chocolate pastry on a little bit of non-stick baking paper. Just give it a light dusting of flour, just so it doesn't stick. What I try and aim for with this pastry is almost like a sablé dough, so it's like a shortbread. So it's quite short in the sense that it's very crumbly. So when you are placing it into the mold, you'll see it will break really easy, but that's no problem because it's just easy to patch up once we get going. So take a rolling pin, touch of flour on your pin, and then using 2 hands, evenly spread and a nice even pressure along the rolling pin will help to give us a nice even roll. So you want to roll the pastry to about 2 to 3 mil. Basically, so it's got some nice texture to it. So you can use a variety of molds for this, some tart rings. So I've got a medium-sized one here, and then some couple of little wee dainty small ones. Or of course you could make one large, big one. So I'll do 2 of each, just so you can see the difference. So roughly cut out a large circle, or rough circle, that's going to provide you with a little bit of overlap around the tart. So when it bakes, if there's a little bit of shrinkage, you can just cut off the excess pastry afterwards, and it doesn't matter. And just flip that in and you'll see the areas where it breaks, but it's absolutely fine. We can just push all that back into the mold, and then just if it gets a bit sticky, just flour your hands and the base. Push it into the corners of the mold, and if you have a slight overlap or it's a little bit rough with a pastry, that's absolutely fine because we'll cut that off. I'm just going to lightly prick the tart, just to keep it nice and flat during the baking process. All of the little bits of pastry trim that you collect, you can roll that out and bake it separately, and then you have this wonderful, amazing little chocolate shortbread that the kids absolutely love. It's a real textural experience, this dish. You have a really soft, beautiful, lovely egg sabayon with the velvet, creamy chocolate, and then the nice, crisp, delicate pastry. So once you've finished with the pastry, you've added a few pricks just to keep it nice and flat, and then we're going to place it on our baking tray and go into the preheated oven. Now it's important you preheat your oven to about 180 to 190 degrees Celsius, so it's nice and hot, so when you go in it'll bake beautiful and crisp. So the next stage of a tart, while we're blind baking the pastry, we're basically going to melt the chocolate and the butter. Now you can use whatever combination of chocolate you like, whether you're using a really rich, bitter, strong chocolate or quite a light, creamy chocolate, or you can use a combination of both. So it's whatever you prefer, doesn't matter. And the butter goes into the bowl, and then we're just going to place it over a double boiler or a pan that's half full of water, just to really gently heat. So you just get a nice soft steam on the base of the bowl, and we'll just heat and melt the butter and chocolate really gently, and then we're just going to fold that together through the sabayon, which we're going to make now, and I'll explain what a sabayon is. Now it is a little bit tricky when you make sabayon for the first time, because the idea is to get the perfect temperature, and what's basically happening is that as we're whisking, we're incorporating air into the egg mix, right? And as the air's going in it, then the heat is gradually cooking it and thickening it and holding those air bubbles together. So you can see about the same time as your arm gets to be quite sore, and The egg sabayon thickens, becomes pale, double in size. You can smell the aroma of beautiful sweet cooked egg. You know we're there. So we can remove it from the stove and just scrape all the sabayon from the sides of the bowl, because the bowl is hot and it will keep cooking, and scramble the egg. Okay, so you can see inside here now the chocolate is starting to almost be completely combined with the butter. You just want to mix it around so all the little lumps of butter is combined, a nice, beautiful, softly mounted chocolate, till it becomes one. We're almost at that lovely, rich, velvet smooth ganache stage. So we're going to remove this from the heat, and then we're going to combine the sabayon and the chocolate together to give us this beautiful filling for our tarts. Now you'll notice that the chocolate's quite runny and the sabayon's quite thick. And what we want to do is combine them together at the same consistency. Now, because we've spent all this time making a lovely, airy, thick, perfect sabayon, the last thing we want to do is knock all the air out of it. So the important thing is just to fold it really, really gently. So what I'm going to do first is you'll see the texture of this chocolate change really quickly. I'm just going to put, say, maybe a third of this sabayon mix into the chocolate. Fold it around, and then what I try and do is move the bowl with one hand and the spatula with the other. And that'll just help incorporate the air and not be over vigorous. Combine our chocolate sabayon into our plain sabayon, little bit by little bit, and scraping all that sabayon from around the edge there. One of the worst things you can do is over mix it. So if we were to get our whisk back in there now and work it, we're actually going to knock out a lot of that air. And we want to keep it really light. So we're basically going to put the rest of this chocolate mixture into our sabayon, gently folding and just using that nice sort of scooping action. And that's about as far as we want to go. And you can see that it's not all combined, but that's enough for now. So our tarts have come out of the oven. They're beautiful, cooked, crisp, and I've just had a chance to cool slightly. And then just with a knife, just to go around them swiftly and just take that rough edge off them, so they're nice and trimmed and even all the way around. So now all we need to do is just pour this thick, beautiful chocolate and just get it nice and full, and just spoon the mix into the small tarts, like so. So the tarts are now ready to go into the oven, preheated at about 180 to 190 degrees Celsius, for about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, our beautiful tarts are out of the oven now. So you can see that amazing pastry, really crisp, and the velvet smooth chocolate sabayon. So we've also made vanilla chantilly, which is basically just cream whipped, a little bit of vanilla in there, and a touch of creme fraiche as well. And then to do a lovely dollop or quenelle, we're just going to have some hot water to heat our spoon, the whipped cream, and just roll towards like so, and then on top. And there we have it, our lovely chocolate tarts.